Carlos Alcaraz is setting off this Friday on a mission to conquer Rotterdam and finally snag his first indoor title. The young Spanish phenom, who will turn 21 in May, has been sharpening his weapons at the Ferrero Tennis Academy in Villena, squeezing in every ounce of training before heading into battle at the ATP 500 in the Netherlands. His goal? Climbing up the rankings and closing the gap with those two guys currently above him, Jannik Sinner and Alexander Zverev. But don't think it's all been sweat and grind for Alcaraz. Last Thursday, he pressed pause on his intense training schedule to make a quick trip to Madrid. The reason? The grand unveiling of his Netflix docuseries A Mi Manera, where fans will get a rare peek behind the curtain at his life, career, and everything in between. Since his last tournament victory in Beijing back in October 2023, Alcaraz has been on a quest to recapture his dominant form and pile up more silverware. Rotterdam represents a golden opportunity, especially with Sinner sitting this one out due to fatigue. If things go his way, Carlitos could walk away with a cool 1,000 ranking points, a nice little boost in his chase for the top spot. More importantly, it's a chance to see how his game holds up on an indoor court, a surface he hasn't competed on in February since 2021. Alcaraz will land in the Netherlands on Friday, giving himself ample time to adjust to the conditions before his first match. His schedule after Rotterdam remains flexible, but hard court events could be in the mix before he shifts his focus to the prestigious Masters 1000 events in Indian Wells and Miami. That's where the big boys play, and every point counts in the race for world number one. Alongside him on this mission will be his coach, Samuel Lopez, who will be steering the ship in both Rotterdam and Doha. Both tournaments carry ATP 500 status, meaning there's plenty at stake. However, there's one tiny hiccup. Alcaraz has been battling a nasty cold, which could force him to delay his debut until Tuesday or Wednesday. Even then, he won't have it easy, as he'll be up against a strong field featuring 3 top 10 players: Daniil Medvedev, Andrei Rublev, and Aussie speedster Alex de Minaur. Talk about a rough welcome. Carlos Alcaraz's return to Rotterdam has already hit some turbulence, and the tournament itself has a bit of history with him. Years ago, they snubbed him, and in the last few seasons, he didn't bother showing up. Now, back on Dutch soil, he's already facing a string of headaches before even stepping on the court. First, the draw did him absolutely no favors. Despite being the top seed, he got handed a brutal opening round match against Botic van de Zandschulp, the very guy who hooped him at the US Open. Oh, and guess what? The Dutchman will have a home crowd roaring for him. If Alcaraz manages to scrape through that, things don't get any easier. His likely second-round opponent? Felix Auger-Aliassime, who's currently in scorching form and will be playing his second final of the year this Sunday in Montpellier. And that's not all. If he keeps marching forward, he could run into Holger Rune or Roberto Bautista Agut in the quarterfinals, and then possibly heavyweights like Andrei Rublev, Hubert Hurkacz, or Alex de Minaur in the semis. No free passes here. If Alcaraz wants the trophy, he's going to have to claw for it. As if the brutal draw wasn't enough, Alcaraz's arrival in Rotterdam turned into a nightmare. The Spanish superstar had already been feeling under the weather thanks to a persistent cold, and then he got hit with another setback. His travel plans went straight to hell. After bumping up his flight by an hour and a half, he touched down in Rotterdam, only to spend over an hour stuck at the airport dealing with a baggage disaster. His bags? Nowhere to be found. The tournament organizers, realizing their golden boy was having a rough start, did their best to smooth things over. They had a fancy car ready to whisk him off to his hotel and even sent their tournament ambassador, Hans Kroon, with a pile of gifts to make up for the inconvenience. Nice gesture, but let's be real. Nothing takes the edge off a shitty travel day like getting your luggage on time. To add even more spice to the story, Alcaraz isn't just any player here. He's the superstar attraction after Sinner's withdrawal. And ironically, this is a tournament that once turned its back on him. Even the director of the event, the legendary Richard Krajicek, admitted last year that they had underestimated the Mercians' potential back in the day. Now, the tables have turned, and Alcaraz is back as the main event. One thing's for sure, His Rotterdam adventure is already off to a chaotic start, and he hasn't even hit a ball yet. Whether he can push past all these obstacles and leave with the title remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: if Carlos Alcaraz wants that trophy, he's going to have to fight like hell to get it. Carlos Alcaraz and the Rotterdam tournament have a history that, if it were a relationship, could be described as it's complicated. A few years ago, when he was still a promising kid without a high enough ranking to secure a direct entry, he decided to take his shot and ask for a wild card. And what did the organizers do? They gave him the cold shoulder. Instead of dwelling on the rejection, Alcaraz chose to take his talents elsewhere, opting for a South American tour rather than playing in the Netherlands. Sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't, but that particular snub clearly left a mark. In 2021, he tried again, requesting another wild card for Rotterdam, only to be denied once more, this time in favor of Andy Murray. The tournament director at the time, Richard Krajicek, recently admitted that it might not have been the best call, saying, "You don't want that to happen again," saying no to the future number one. Well, hindsight is 20/20ths. Now, Alcaraz is back, but this time as a star, not a hopeful. He's no longer knocking on doors. He's the main event. And just as he prepares to make his debut in Rotterdam, his good friend and rival Jannik Sinner is stealing all the headlines. The Italian has been on an absolute tear, continuing his insane run of form by bagging his third Grand Slam title at the Australian Open last week. When Alcaraz was asked about Sinner's recent success ahead of the tournament, he didn't hold back on the praise. "Jannik is the best right now," he said in his pre-tournament press conference on Sunday. "He's only lost 4 or 5 matches in the last year, so it's crazy. I know people love to debate who's better between us. Some say him, some say me, but as a tennis player, you have to face reality. Jannik is winning everything he plays. He's always focused, always delivering, so I think he's the best right now. Every tournament he enters, he either makes the final or lifts the trophy." Sinner reinforced that dominance by demolishing Alexander Zverev in straight sets in the Australian Open final, capturing his 9th ATP Tour title and adding yet another major to his collection. He's now at 8 career titles, just one shy of yet another milestone. While Alcaraz prepares for a challenging week in Rotterdam, there's no doubt that the ongoing rivalry between him and Sinner will continue to shape the tennis landscape for years to come. Carlos Alcaraz, the 21-year-old Spanish sensation, had his eyes set on making history, becoming the youngest player ever to complete a career Grand Slam. But, as fate would have it, that dream ran straight into a brick wall named Novak Djokovic. After 10 days of stewing over his quarterfinal loss, Alcaraz isn't beating himself up too much about it. "I don't feel like it was a missed opportunity against Novak," he admitted. "I really wanted to win the tournament, and I felt like I had a shot, but Novak played an unbelievable match. Facing him in the quarterfinals of a slam? That's just brutal." Despite the sting of defeat, Alcaraz is trying to take the positives from the match. "It was a good battle," he said. "I've been focusing on what I did well and moving forward. No point in dwelling on the past. There's an entire season ahead, and Rotterdam is up next. This tournament presents the perfect chance for him to rebuild his confidence and rack up some valuable ATP ranking points." With Jannik Sinner skipping the event, Alcaraz walks in as the top seed and one of the clear favorites for the title. However, there's still one big question mark hovering over him: his track record on indoor courts. Unlike clay and outdoor hard courts, where he's already left his mark, indoor surfaces haven't been his playground just yet. Cracking the Rotterdam code could be a game-changer for his career. Adapting to the fast-paced, controlled conditions will be crucial if he wants to leave with the trophy. Beyond Rotterdam, Alcaraz has his sights set on Indian Wells and Miami, 2 Masters 1000 events where he'll have a mountain of ranking points to defend. It's not just about staying near the top of the rankings. It's about proving, once again, that he's one of the most dominant forces in the sport. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop a like. Here at Tennis Extra, we're committed to bringing you the most in-depth analysis exclusive interviews, and top-tier coverage of everything happening in the tennis world. Join our community and experience the excitement of the sport with us. We work hard to deliver up-to-date, high-quality content about players, tournaments, strategies, and all the most relevant events in the game. Stick around. This season is just getting started.